Hi guys, Rachel here with the Cackling Moon. I am going to be doing a book review and discussion on The Merman's Kiss. So if you are interested in hearing about this delicious little book, please grab something to drink. I have an iced coffee here. Grab something to drink, get a snack, get cozy, and let's talk about The Merman's Kiss. I'm gonna need a good drink before we talk about this book. All right, you guys. So, The Merman's Kiss. Oh my gosh, this book is the juiciest, dirtiest little book I have read in a long time. A long time. Now, it only took me a day and a half to read this baby. Probably would take some of you guys like one sitting. It's such a little book. But I wanted to kind of, like, kid you not, I wanted to kind of drag it out just a little bit because I was so into it. I honestly didn't think I was going to love it as much as I did. So I bought this book off of Amazon. And I never even heard of this before. And when I was looking on Amazon, they have a version, like a Kindle version of this book. And when you go through the little drop down to change it from Kindle to like, they have a paperback version. So that's what I did. And it was like $6.99. It was really cheap. This book is only 120 something pages or 130 pages. And, it's delicious. So it's erotica. Okay. It's a sexy book. Not for the younger audience. This is 100% adult. So please be 18 and over when you read this. But The Merman's Kiss is basically a 100% setting in the ocean. Okay. Like I would say there's 1% of the book that is above the ocean, above the water. Because you have to kind of bring into the mix one of the characters. So there's two main characters in this book. There's a couple others that are drizzled in there, but the main characters, there's Brianna and there is Xantu the merman. Okay, so I'm not going to give spoilers, so don't worry. But basically the setting of this book is 100% under the ocean. It's Xantu's, basically his whole experience underwater, right? This book is written in a form of the perspective of, you don't get the thoughts too much of the characters. It's more of like, I don't know how do you explain this, but it's more of like the author is narrating it, versus like, books where you get like, where you get the actual character's perspective. So that's, if you're not into that, that might be a little bit challenging for some of you that, if you like the perspective of the character versus like the narrator explaining everything. But honestly, I didn't really notice too much of it. Like it really didn't bother me. What else? Like what can I say about this? Oh my God. I blushed so much. Like I had this dirty little smile on my face while I was reading this the whole time. My husband thought I was absolutely nuts for reading something like this. I have to say the very first sex scene in this book is a little bit hard to handle. Especially if you're reading it and you're like thinking, okay, it's sex, but it's not just sex. Like it's sex with a merman. Like it's sex with a fish. Like, so it is it takes a little bit getting used to, because literally in your mind, you're wrapping your mind around, how would I have sex with a merman? Like that's the person. That's the perspective I was trying to have while reading this book. So I will say, like, the very first sex scene, which is probably within like the second page, not even kidding you. I was really trying to picture myself, how would that be? Like, how does that work? The author is really good. She is really, really good with explaining the anatomy of what a merman, like what sex with a merman would be like. So that's why I'm saying, like, I had a dirty little smile on my face the whole time I read this book. I have no shame whatsoever. Like, I really enjoy, you have to read this book, you really have to enjoy fantasy. You have to enjoy like the cheesy, raunchy romance. If you're not into that and you're not into the fantasy, then you have no business reading this, like, because you just won't get it. But if you can appreciate raunchy romance or like really, really raunchy erotica written books, and then you have like this love for mermaids and it just, this just will take you on a wild ride. It will take you on a wild ride. Now, the writing style also is very simple. It's such a simple read. It doesn't take rocket science to get through this book. It's so easy. But I think a lot of erotica is kind of like that, right? Because you really want to just dive into the good stuff, and you don't really want to have to think too much, right? So it is a very simple book. Like, think 50 Shades of Grey, like how that was written so simple, and a lot of people just didn't like that because they felt like it was written for, like, it was written by a child. Like, I don't know. I'm not picky like that. Like, that stuff just doesn't bother me. So I will say it's a very simple read. But I feel like the author did a good job of really making you feel like you were under the water. The way she described it, like, even like the way that she would describe some of the sexual, it's like when she would talk about Xantu's, like, his approach to Brianna, like, sexually, he had a very fishy sense of humor, if that makes sense. Some of the wordage that was used really just kind of adds to the whole experience of being underwater and being in a mermaid's world. So I really like that. I really appreciate it, because you can have like the typical terminology that you would use for sex, for between humans, right? But I mean, when you're bringing the element of a merman, it's a little bit different. And the author she really did a good job with that. I will give her that too. I hope it's a female Tamsin. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even think that has a picture of the author. I would love to see who this person looks like. I'll have to look them up. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it is a man. I don't know. I gotta look this up. So please forgive me. I could be incorrect. Now, the other thing about this book, you guys, there's freaking 2 more. Yes, there's 2 more to this series. It's a series. It is a juicy series. So I discovered that because I went to my Goodreads and I marked it as read, because when I finished it last night, and I was pleasantly surprised to see in the recommendations the other 2 books. So my ass went on Amazon and I searched it, and I bought the 2 paperback versions of the other 2 books, and they're supposed to be delivered sometime the first week of May. I'm really excited because I'm totally going to dive in and read them. It does continue with the characters that come up in the first book. At least the second book does. The third one, I'm not sure. I didn't even check what the third one was about. I just wanted to buy it. But it's a trilogy. So I'm excited because, believe it or not, as I was finishing up on this book, I was sad to see it end. I wanted more. The sex parts were like, there was a lot of sex splashed in throughout the whole story. Okay, it's erotica. But there was still a storyline, and there was a point in the storyline where I found myself getting nervous. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, I was actually immersed in the storyline, which is pretty cool, because I have friends that read the 50 Shades of Grey, and they were so into the storyline of the book that they would kind of like fast forward through all the sex scenes because they wanted to know what actually happened to the characters. So I found myself in the same situation with this. I will say that there's only so much that you could do with mermaids underwater. Like, So I feel like the storyline was pretty good. Like it was stuff that I typically wouldn't like anticipate that she brought up, or that they brought up. I'm sorry, because I'm not sure if Tamsin is a male or female, so I apologize. But I just feel like the author just did a really good job. Like for the fact that like with the content, the subject matter of this book, I feel like the author did a really, really good job. I love it. I give it 5 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 5 stars. I was very pleasantly surprised that it didn't turn out to be some shitty book. Like I literally didn't have high hopes for it, because I just thought, oh my God, it's such a cheesy cover. Like I was like, oh, it's just going to be another cheesy book. No, it was actually, I actually kind of liked it. So to each their own, because I'm sure some people out there would be haters on it. But I liked it, and I can't wait to read books 2 and 3. So once I read books 2 and 3, I will definitely make a video and express my feelings on those as well. But yeah, so if you guys are looking for a mermaid book that is from a merman's perspective, the other thing I will say too, because this was on the Goodreads reviews, a lot of people were offended by the author's perspective on women. Now, this is the thing, you guys, when you're reading books, and especially fiction, but when you're reading books, one thing is like, you have to kind of understand that when an author is writing their book, they can write it however the fuck they want. That's the freedom of writing. And when it comes to fiction, like, you're gonna get weird things, off the wall things, opposite things, like offensive things. It's writing. Like, that's the beauty of writing. So when I saw those reviews, that's why I don't like to read reviews before I read books, because I don't like that to taint my opinion. So I read this knowing that there was some people who were offended by the way women were portrayed in the book. And I will say this because this isn't a spoiler, that the mermaids, because there's mermen, the mermen are depicted as nurturers and like the mommies. So it's a real role reversal, but it's more of a stereotypical bad reputation / stereotypical role reverse, if you get what I mean. Because not all men are shitty and not all women are meant to be home cooking, okay? So please, I'm not saying that, but this is just what happened in the book. Is in the book, the mermen are depicted as the home, like they stay home and they take care of the babies, and they nurse the babies and they take care of the babies, and they stay home. And the women, or the mermaids in the book, are depicted as these like slutty like sex crazed mermaids, and they're only out there to like fuck the mermen and impregnate them and leave them with their children and abandon the babies and go off and like have sex with everybody. So saying it out loud is funny. I don't know. I was not offended by it, because when I read books, I go into it with the knowledge of knowing that an author is going to have a whole fucking different perspective on things than me. And so I just feel like it's just, you can't be judgmental like that. It's fiction, right? Now, if it was nonfiction, then that's different. But this was fiction, and it was really interesting to see that stereotypical bad reputation, negative reputation on people's role reversals, right? So it was really interesting to see that perspective. And the author even mentioned like how seahorses, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but seahorses, the males are the ones that give birth. And so it's like they kind of use that perspective on the mermen, where I don't think it's the mermen that gave birth. I think it was still the mermaids that are having the babies, but then the mermaids abandon the babies and the mermen raise the children. So it was just really interesting, and I actually could like appreciate that, because it's just different. Like, it's just different. So anyways, so there's that whole thing. So hopefully I sold at least one person who's watching this to please read this book. I would send you my copy to read, but I actually really enjoyed it, so I'm happy to keep this in my collection. But I'm excited to get books 2 and 3 so I can continue this crazy book, this dirty little book. And I will be back for more reviews and more discussions. If any of you have read this, please comment below and share with me your ideas, your feelings, your perspective, and all of that. And did you feel weird to be turned on by the sex parts? Like, that was the other thing with me too. I think that's why I was like giggling in bed when my husband was in bed with me and he was on his phone, you know, and I'm like laying there in bed reading this and he's like, I don't know, what the fuck are you reading? And I'm like, I'm just reading it just to see if I like it. And I mean, it's steamy. It's hot, right? It's erotica. And so, but when you're like feeling that way, and then you're like, but wait a minute, like it's a fish. Like, it's just weird. It's just weird. It's weird, but it's also good, but it's weird. And you feel weird feeling about it being good because it's weird. So please go into this book with an open mind. It's really, it's just different and I liked it and I liked it. Give it 5 stars. So that's my review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. And I will, if you have questions about this and you want some more details, you can ask them below and I'll be more than welcome to answer them for you. But anyways, I will talk to you later, you guys. Bye, loves.